intra-elite division. Social mobility made possible by this new wealth gave rise to a certain amount of problems. How do you accommodate the new and the rising incomes? How do you cope with people who in the past were not on your level, but obviously now have spending power, which they use to display themselves in society? And one way that was found of coping was if you could prove that you had lived like the nobility and at the nobility's level for 3 years, you could apply to join the club. The other thing that was gnawing away at this great chain of being were regular fiscal crises confronted by the monarchy. These were driven by the increasing costs of waging warfare. They gave rise to new kinds of taxation or increases on all kinds of taxation. So monarchs faced with increasing costs of war making were driven to fiscal innovation and centralisation. The centralising trajectory came to clash with the interests of the then semi-autonomous regional power groups. Now, no two revolutions are entirely the same. There's an extraordinary diversity in both revolution and rebellion, but there are roughly 5 generic categories. First is the Great National Revolution, for example, the Netherlands Revolt and the English Revolution. And the features of these are the depth and the strength of the social and political strains and dysfunctions, severe status inconsistencies, regional tensions, fragmentation of the elites through alienation of important segments of the ruling class, hostility to the state church, and excessive fiscal demands by governments. The second category we might call the national revolt, with the potential to become revolutions. In this period, we're thinking about the revolt in the Catalan region of Spain, the period of civil war in France known as the Fronde, which raged from 1648 to about 1653. This is a revolt against the centralising tendencies of the warfare state and the fear of there not being enough jobs for the boys because of the excessive sale of ennobling offices. Thirdly, we have the large-scale regional rebellion with limited potential. And amongst these are the ones I hope to deal with later, the croquants. And then you have the occasional secessionist coup d'etat. And then you have urban rioting directed not at the state, but mainly at ruling elites or local interests. So early modern Europe then is a world of fierce social antagonisms. Psychological effects of changes in income status, political power and standing. They were all, in Norman Stone's words, a crisis within the regime rather than a crisis within the society, leading to the loss of ability to rule, exacerbated by defections on parts of the established elites, and like most human beings, the men who held and acted on the beliefs of the early modern world were drastically limited in their behaviour and objectives by traditional patterns of thought, patterns so repressive in character as to make it extremely difficult for the men who held them to break through the ancient and deeply ingrained conceptions of society and the polity or accepted modes of political action. That's a quote from a couple of historians who specialised in this period. Now, societies in which the accepted mechanisms for resolving social antagonisms fail or break down almost inevitably experience resistance and rebellion against the established order or authority. Whether such rebellions are revolutionary or conservative is determined by the conditions prevailing at the time and the mentalities of the participants. The rebellions of early modern Europe were, in the main, not informed by revolutionary ideas and were therefore almost by default conservative, both in their intent and outcome. This is particularly so for those rebellions that gained the support of the mass of the populace, what I will call popular rebellions. The first thing to note is that few of the social upheavals in this period set out to accomplish radical goals. In his study of 6 mid-17th century upheavals, the historian Roger Merriman concludes that their differences were more remarkable than their similarities. In each case, the immediate cause was fiscal, usually arbitrary taxation of one form or another, but that they were all directed against dominant and unpopular ministers rather than against the monarchs whom they served. This verdict may usefully be applied to most of the rebellions in early modern Europe, motivated as they were by a desire that the powers of the monarch and his officials should not be abused. Rebels in this period were more concerned with the